What's going on, good people? It's Iceberg. Hopefully everybody out there is having a beautiful start to your Wednesday hump day. I know it's going to be a lovely day here today. Not going to get too hot, but we're going to have some beautiful sunshine. Just what we need for our plants and just what we need for our bodies. Get out and enjoy the sun, soaking them rays, of course, safely. You don't want to do it too much. Of course, too much of anything is bad, right? All things in moderation. It's kind of a motto we live by. Yeah, hopefully your day is starting off well. Hopefully you've had a great week so far. I know I didn't get to come to you yesterday. Had a little bit of change up in my schedule, so it's all good. I hope y'all enjoyed your Tuesday and Monday, the start of the week. And now you're Wednesday, and what do you got planned for your weekend? You need to get some materials together. Are you going to start your garden? You need to get your materials maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so Saturday morning you're ready to go. Or maybe you're going to do it in the evenings. Get your stuff now and do it Thursday evening, Friday evening, so you can have Saturday free. But you already got your seeds planted. I don't know, just a way to think about the week sometime. If you plan it out right, you don't have to spend your entire weekend doing whatever it is that needs to be done. Give some of the evening hours to it. I mean, I know our days are getting a little shorter now since we're going away from summer and heading into fall, but still got those hours to do things. Of course, you can set up artificial lighting. It's staying warmer still later into the evening, so we can take advantage of the time. I need to do a little bit more of that myself. Talking about self, last few weeks we've been talking about self-evaluations, and it's something that we got to continue to do, and why I'm always going to continue to remind you, self-care. Self-care is important. We need to always continue to remember to do things to take care of self, especially our mental health, because our mental health gets taxed every day. It gets beaten on every single day. Whatever it is we're absorbing, whether it's the craziness going on in the world from the news media outlets, or maybe it's a job that is not making you happy. Maybe there's some unfortunate things going on in your family life that are putting stress on you. Whatever it is, it does a taxing thing onto your mental health. And if you're not doing anything purposefully to take care of your mental health, then it's definitely deteriorating. That's self-care. One of our mental self-checks when we're checking in with ourselves, and a way to kind of help preserve some of our mental acuity and not have it wasted on being drained by nonsense, is to do something that I always kind of did in life, but it was never put into specific words and followed up with the full-on, real life explanation as to why it applied. And what that is to pick your battles, or choose your battles, whatever word you want to say. And what that means is that everything is not worth fighting about. Everything is not worth you fighting for. Everything is not worth your time and energy. Everything is not worth acknowledgement. So you pick your battles. Because often what you see is that, let me give you some examples, right? So for example, let's say in a sports game, whether it be football, basketball, whatever, right? So the players are, in the regular game, and they're bumping against each other and pushing and stuff like that, stuff that happens in a game. But then one player does something that the other player feels is a little over the line, maybe a little dirty, right? So player number one does something that player number two feels is dirty or crosses the line. Player number two retaliates and hits player number one. Maybe player number one hit player number two, but player number two retaliates and hits player number one back. What does the referee see? The retaliation, right? Player number two is the one that ends up getting the foul, unless they go and look at it and replay. But if you don't have replay, and back when, before replay was a thing with the referees, when there was fights and stuff, player number 2 was the one who would get punished. Why? Because of what was observed. And that happens a lot in life as well. Not just in sports, but in regular life, dealing with a person. If a person does something, says something, and another person takes it a certain kind of way, whether it was meant that way or not, it could have very full well been meant that way, or it could have been meant as something totally different. But it was taken as the negative by the receiver. And then that receiver goes on to do something or say something based on that first thing. Who is the one that ends up looking bad if the first person comes back and says, that's not how I meant it. I actually meant this. And it's something that's totally feasible and makes sense. But the second person has already reacted or responded in a way that is, you can't really come back from. You can't clear up. You got to choose your battles. You got to know when it's worth it for you to expel some of your mental, physical, emotional effort towards dealing with that situation, or whether it's something that can be ignored and you can just move on with life like it never happened and continue to have a positive day. We all individually have the choice to make when it comes to those things, because we all individually choose to engage with someone if they are being what we feel is negative towards us. We have the ability to ignore them. We have the ability to take any number of actions, but whatever action we do take is an action that we individually decided to take. So then we have to understand that we live in a country where they say we have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, all of those different things, right? And while that is true under federal law, there's still consequences to actions. No matter what. You may have been free to say it or do it, but if it has an adverse impact on someone else, that's where the line gets crossed. For example, in America, you're free, and most, a lot of the places, let's talk about in the South, you're free to carry a gun. You're free to have that gun on you. Now, when it comes to shooting that gun, there's certain places you can do it. You can't just shoot your gun off in the city limits and not have a consequence, right? But let's say you're out somewhere where you are allowed to shoot that gun freely. And you shoot that gun, and you're not paying attention to gun safety and to where that bullet may travel. And that bullet travels and does damage to somebody else's property, or God forbid, hits a person. You are free to have that gun. You're free to shoot that gun. But you're not removed from the responsibilities that come with the actions that you take with that gun. And that's just an example using guns. This applies to words and any other actions that we take. There are certain things that you are not allowed to just openly say if it causes a certain adverse action. You can't go into a theater and yell fire and then it causes a stampede and people get hurt and killed, and you not be punished for being the cause of that action if there's no fire. So you have to pick your battles. We all do. That's a part of our self-help, our self-mental checks. Whenever you're dealing with anything, you have to run it through your own mental before you respond. And determine, is this a battle worth fighting? What am I going to benefit from this? What am I going to lose, or what do I have to lose from this? Do I have more to lose than this other person, entity? Do I even know this other person or entity? To know what they have to lose or gain. Does this other person or entity's life or opinion have any impact or influence on my life? And if the answer is no to those things, then the battle may not be worth fighting. You got to choose your battles. We all do. It's a part of maintaining healthy mental. This is something that hopefully you're teaching the babies early on. Choose your battles. If they're dealing with a kid at school, you know, they're in first grade kindergarten, and there's a kid that is, you know how it is for little kids. They don't even want to be bothered with, you know, boys and girls and stuff like that, a lot of them. But there is maybe one or two little boys or girls who do like to hang out with other boys and girls, you know, and think that it's cute to say that's my boyfriend and girlfriend. You know, they're little 5- and 6-year-olds, right? But you have a whole group of boys and girls who don't want to deal with the other one, thinking that they're got cooties and stuff. So if your child happens to be the one, say you have a little boy and it's the little girl in the class that likes him and kind of won't leave him alone, and he can't stand it because he don't like girls and all of that stuff, you know. How do you explain to your child to pick his battles? Because, of course, you don't want him to hit the girl, you know, but a little boy, that may be his first response at a 5-year-old, like, get away from me, you know. But you don't want him to hit the girl, so how do you explain to him to choose his battle here, you know? Do you try to spin it and explain to him how he's not going to feel that way later on in life, potentially? You know, if he does grow up to like girls? Are you going to explain it some other way in terms of the peer pressure stuff? Because a lot of it is peer pressure. The other boys are going to pick on him if he's hanging out with this little girl all the time. And then he goes and tries to hang out with the boys and do that stuff. Because that's how stupid 5-year-old and 6-year-old little 5-year-old and 6-year-old little boys are. I mean, it's just reality. We all know it to be true. So, how do you explain to your child to pick that battle, right? Or other battles that they're going to experience? We have to get this stuff into the minds of our children early on so they don't make the same mistakes that we make. So they don't go through life getting into being in their 40s, 30s, and 40s and just now learning these lessons. We can get it instilled in them early on so they grow up and have so much more of an advantage mentally than we did ever. And that should be the goal for all of us, to make the next generation better than we were. We've learned lessons from this. We're supposed to take that knowledge and wisdom and pour it into them and teach them how to use what we've learned so they can already start with that advantage and learn some totally new things to come back and enlighten us with stuff. But it's our job to get their brains advanced by teaching them these things and teach them how to choose their battles, good people. It's going to be important for their overall mental health. It's going to be important for their overall life health. Because a lot of the nonsense that people are getting in trouble for, you know, you got little dope boys in the streets and stuff like that, and they fighting over what block it is. You know, none of them own anything on the block, but they're fighting and killing each other over what block one of them stays on compared to the other. That's a bad battle to pick because nobody wins in that. All right, you just killed this other person from the other block. What did you gain? Your street cred ain't helping you. It's just helping you have to run from the law more. What are you actually gaining? What did somebody else lose? There's a lot of loss in that process, but there's no real gain for the person who committed the action to take away another person's life in that situation. So we got to get it instilled into people young. Again, it's a lot of them young people. Those are the dope boys and stuff, the young people, right? Now, yeah, I know they have older people who are influencing their minds, but we are also older people who can influence their minds in a different way. We can catch them before they even hit them streets, right? I'm talking about 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. You get in their minds mentally prepared for dealing with all of the battles that they're going to face in life. They'll be mentally strong to know how to interact in those situations. But again, it's up to us, the people who have been through there, the people who have some wisdom about these things, to make sure that we are explaining it to the youth and everybody else who needs to know it as well, because there's plenty of adults making the similar mistakes or running into similar issues of situations where maybe it's a battle they should not have chosen, or, you know, maybe it is a battle you feel like you should have chosen, but maybe the way that you handled it was the thing that, you know, crossed the line. Who knows? Every situation is different, but every individual person is responsible for the choices and actions that they make. I told you, we're all responsible for two things in this world: our actions and our attitude. So make sure that you're taking control of those things in your life, good people, and make sure you're teaching the babies how to control that in their own life as well, because those are the two things that will get you hemmed up. Your actions and your attitude are the things that will get you hemmed up in this world. So make sure that you have them under control. Make sure you have them in check. Make sure you can discern when a battle is worth fighting and when it's one to maybe just let go by the wayside. Until next time, good people, this is Iceberg. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Make sure you get yourself a seed planted in that soil. Grow something for your family. Go ahead and reduce the inflation that you have going on in your household. Until next time, good people, this is Iceberg. Salute.